Welcome to We Learn. In the previous session, we have done the discussion about functions types and string functions. In today's session, we will do the discussion about structures and unions. Topics to be covered are introduction, declaration of structures, accessing the member of a structure, initialization structure, structures as function arguments, structures and arrays, unions, initialization of an union, assessing the members of an union. C programming language, which has the ability to divide the data into different data types. The different data types are like this: simple data type, structured data type, user defined data type. In the previous session, we have learned about integers, real, void, char, and the arrays and strings. So now we will do the discussion about user defined data type, that is structures and unions. Structure. A structure is a collection of variables of different data types under a single name. A structure is a user defined data type that groups logically related data items of different data types into a single unit. If I talk about arrays, arrays allow you to define type of variables that can hold data items of the same type. But structure is another user defined data type that allows you to combine data items of different type in a single unit. For example, if you want to store the information about structure of an employee, about his/her name, ID, salary, address, phone number, you can create this information separately, but better approach will be the collection of this information under a single name, because all these information are related to a same person. To define a structure, we need to use a struct type keyword. Here I have used a struct keyword, that is the structure name, and these are the data members of an structure. I'll show you the example of a structure. To store the information about employee, about his/her name, I am using structure. I have written this struct employee and the members name are int empid, name is of char type, salary is of float type, and address is of char type, and department number, that is I have used for integer type, and age of integer type. Declaring a structure variable. A structure has to be declared after the body of structure has defined. So, the syntax of declaring a structure is struct, structure name, and the variable. For example, I have written struct employee E1. Here E1 is the variable that contains 6 members that are defined in the structure, like employee name, ID, salary, department number, etc. Initialization of a structure. The members of individual structure variable is initialized by one or in a single statement. To initialize a structure, I can return this struct employee. Here I have used struct, that is the keyword, employee is the structure name, and E1 is the variable from which I am accessing his 6 members, that is ID, name, salary, department number, 3 Vikas Colony, New Delhi is the address, 10 is the department number, and 35 is the age. I can define, there are 2 ways I can define, like first statement, or I can access them as like this also. E1 dot emp ID, that is E1 is a variable, variable dot name, variable dot salary, variable dot address, variable dot department number, or variable dot age. The structure members cannot be directly accessed. To access them, we need to use a structure variable with the dot operator. Here I have used E1.empid, E1.name, E1.salary. The data within the structure is stored and printed by this method using scanf or printf statement in C. So, when a structure is defined, it creates a user-defined data type, but no storage is allocated. For the above structure of employee, we need to declare a variable which I have declared as E1. Structure assignment. The value of one structure variable can assign to another variable of same type using assignment statement. If the E1 and E2 are the structure variables, we can assign the values of one structure to another structure by writing E1 equal to E2. Here E2 is assigning the values of structure to E1. Here I'll show you the example of structure. I have declared include 2 header files, stdio.h and string.h. Struct is a keyword and student is the name of the structure, and declaring member like int id, character name of 20 size, float percentage, and the colon. The structure is defined above the main program. After defining the structure, I'll go to the main program. I have defined void main, curly braces, struct, student, record. Here record is the variable that is used to accessing the members of and structure. Here I am in initialization of ID and name and percentage, that is 1, Raju, 86.5. This 86.5 is the percentage, and to print this information I am using printf command. I'll show you the example by using this code in C program. I'm opening the TC file. I'm including 2 header files. I'm declaring the structure of person and declaring its member, that is ID, name, and salary. Here the declaration part of structure. Now I'll move to main program, starting with main, void main, declaring the structure variable like this: struct person p1. Here p1 is the variable. Initializing the value of this structure. Here I am using p1.id to printing. %s for char array, p1.name, printf in new line, that is salary, salary is float type, so I am using float f specifier p1.salary. Now I am executing the program. First I have compiled. Here it's showing errors. Declaration. Okay. Here I need to write semicolons instead of commas. And secondly, I need to include for string, there is string.h. Here is curly bracket missing. It's now 0 error. Then run. Here it's showing the ID of a person, name of a person, and salary of a person. So here I have initialized the structure. We can enter the value in structure using scanf also. For example, I am using scanf. I am showing the message to the user to do the entry in of a ID of a person. So I can do like this: p address operator, then p1.id. This will scan and then store the value in p1.id. Second message: name of person, and scanning the name by using %s. using through scanf. Percentage F is float because my salary is of float type. P1 dot salary. Now I'm going to execute this program. First I need to enter the ID of a person. I have entered 12. Then enter the name of a person. I have entered Rahul. Then enter the salary of a person. I am entering 26,000. Then it will show me like this. Here I need to write P1 dot name. For clear screen, I am using CLR SCR. Showing you again. Please enter the ID of a person. I have entered 101. Enter the name of a person. I have entered Priyanka. Enter the salary of a person. I have entered 23,000. Then it will show me the output like this. So see from the structure variable how we can combine the different members of different data type in a single unit. Now we move to next. Next is array of structure. C language allows to create an array of variables of structure. Array of structure is used to store the large number of similar records. For example, in this previous example, we learn how we can store a single person entry of different types. For example, for a single person, I have entered his ID, his salary, his name. Same this thing, I need to store the way information about 10 or 100 or 5 employees. So for this situation, I need to use the array of structure. This method is used to define and access the array element of array of structure similar to other array. Here to define a structure array, we will do the syntax like struct, then structure name, then variable name, and then the array name, and then the value which I need to store in this array. For example, here struct is a keyword, employee is the name of the structure, E is the variable name, and 5 is used to define the array of structure. Here the array of structure size is 5. Here I'll show you the example, a program to implement the array of structure that is used to store the employees data. For example, employee ID, name, salary, address, department number, and age. For this, I have declared structure. Then in the void main, where I am declaring the structure variable, I have defined the structure array. To store the information about different elements of different employees, I have using for loop. Suppose I am storing the information about 5 employees. So I have started a for loop with I equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Then printf, it will print the message, enter the employee ID of a employee. Here I have used percentage EI. EI is used for array. Here EI will store the information about first employee, that is E of 0 dot emp ID. Emp ID is a member of employee. Then second, enter the name of that is EI dot name, ampersand EI dot salary. For the next employee, it will increment the value of I, that is I increment from 0 to 1. Then it will store the information about second employee, similarly about third employee, similarly about fourth employee. So by using this loop, we can store the information about 5 employees. To display the information about these 5 employees, I can again use for loop. So we can define the array of structure like this example. Now we'll move to next, that is structures within structures. In C language, we can define nested statements. Like in the previous session, we have defined if, another if, that is nested if. So similarly, we can define one structure in another structure, that is called structure within structure, or nested structure you can say. To define the structure within structure, we need to declare it like this. Here struct, then structure name, curly braces, the variables name, member names, and then the another structure that I am declaring in main structure. For the another structure, I have written struct, structure name, and the members of nested structure. Then that is end of nested structure, and this is the structure variable which I am defining for accessing these members. And here is the end of main structure. So example of structure is within structure is like this. Here struct employee, int emp id, name, salary, department number is the members of main structure, and I am declaring here nested structure, that is date, and the members of these structures are day, month, year. On the end of this structure, I am declaring here a variable, that is dog, that will access these members. To access the members of nested structure, we need to use two period dot symbol. The syntax to access the structure within structure is structure variable of main structure, then dot variable of nested structure, then dot and the member of nested structure. Here, if I need to access the members of nested structure, I need to write here E1 is the variable of main structure, dot dog, that is variable of nested structure, dot day is the member of nested structure. So to use this, I'll show you the example by implementing in C. Here I have declared struct employee. Employee is the main structure. In the main structure, I have declared e-name, SSN, salary, and then this is the nested structure, that is date. And these are the members of nested structure, date, month, year, and dog is the variable of nested structure, and emp is the variable of nested main structure. To initializing the values of these structures, I have declared it like this. I have written Yogesh and SSN number 101, salary 20,000 and curly braces. Here these are the members of nested structure, that is date. Date is 14, month is 5 and year is 2015. Next I move to void main. For the cleared screen, I have written clear screen Then printf amp.ename to accessing the members of main structure, amp.ssn, amp.salary, and these are the members of nested structure, that is amp.dog.day, amp.dog.month, amp.dog.year. I'm going to execute this program. First I compile this, and after run, this will show me the output like this. Here it's showing me the name, SSN, salary and date of joining. So similarly, if I do the changes here, the program will show me the output. Like here I have changed 102 here. I'm using 2015. Sorry, 2014. So when I execute, this will show me the output like this. So this can be initialized like this also, or we can take the input from the users also by scanf function. In the void main, we can write scanf and prompt a message to enter the user name of the employee, to enter the SSN number of employee and enter the salary of an employee. Then we can enter the date of day of joining and the month of day of joining and the year of joining. So we can take input from the user also. Next is pointers and structures. Pointers will we discuss in the next session. So pointers with structure will discuss after we learn about pointers. The next is passing structure to a function. We can pass a structure to function also, like in the functions in the previous session. We learn about how we can pass the arguments to a function. Similarly, same as the arguments, we can pass a structure to a function also. For passing a structure to a function, we need to make a structure, and then we can make the functions to pass the whole structure of employee, person and all to a function. For example, here I have written the program, that is hash include stdio.h conio.h, struct is the employee, that is the structure. I have mentioned amp id, name and salary, and then void main. Here I have written struct employee e1 is the variable of structure, and then printing the message, enter the employee ID of scan. So here I am scanning the values of amp ID, name, salary, and then calling the function that is print data. Print data is a function where I am passing the whole structure, that is struct employee e1 and then get. The function is written like this: void print data, that take the argument of structure type, and it's used to print the content of the structure like employee ID, employee name, employee salary. This I can show you in TC also. Here this is the example of passing structure. I am including two files, stdio.h, conio.h, struct employee. I have declared imp id of integer type, name of char type, and salary is float type. And then go to the main program. Here is void main, struct amp e1. E1 is the variable of structure, And this is the declaration of a function. I have written void print data and passing the argument of structure type struct employee E1. Employee is the name of the structure and E1 is the variable of the structure. And then clear screen for clearing the screen, prompting a message, enter the name of employee ID of a person. Then using the scanf, I am storing the information in emp ID and prompting a message, enter the name of employee using scanf and storing the name of employee in E1.name. Then prompting a message, enter the salary of employee and storing the information about salary in E1.salary. To print this information, I am calling the function print data and passing the structure variable, that is E1. After the main program, I have written the function of print data like this: void print data type struct name of structure and variable name. Using the printf function for printing the ID of employee, amp.empid, amp.name, amp.salary. So I am executing this program, compiling and then running. Here it's showing me the message to enter the employee ID of employee. I am entering 101, enter. Then it's showing me enter the name of employee. I am entering Yogesh, enter. It's showing me to enter the salary of employee. I have entered 15,000 and then enter. After enter, it show me the output by calling the function print data like this. The employee ID of employee is 101, the name of the employee is Yogesh and the salary of employees is 15,000. So see how we can pass one structure to a function like the arguments. And the next is function returning structure. The function can return a variable of structure like an integer, a float variable. The program to return a structure from a function is like this. Here hash include studio.h, hash include conio.h. I have inputted two header files including, and then struct employee and empid, char name and float salary. I have defined the structure here. Then in the main program, I have written struct employee amp equal to get data. In amp, I am returning the structure from the get data. Printf amp id, amp name, and salary. When the statement comes to this statement, when the program comes to this statement, it will execute this function, that is struct employee get data. It's of structure type. Please see this. I have written here struct. Why not I have written here void main or void amp get data? Because I am returning structure here. So I need to define the data type which I am returning from this function, that is struct employee. So for this, because it's returning a structure, I have written this statement. In this function, I am declaring the variable of structure like struct employee E1, then prompting the message, enter the employee ID of employee, and then using the scanf function, I am entering amp ID, then the name of the employee, scanning through %s E1.name, and then salary of employee. and scanning through E1.salary. After scanning, I am returning E1. When it returns E1, it comes to the emp. Emp is also a variable of structure type. So it's assign all the content into emp. From the emp variable, I will show the output of employee ID, employee name and employee salary. So by this example, I can learn about how a function can return a structure. Next topic is union. A union is a user-defined data type like structure. It also groups all related variables into single unit. A union data type allocate the space equal to space need to hold the largest number of union. See, there is a little bit difference between structure and union. In union, we can declare a different data members of same data type of different data types in single unit like structure. But when a structure is used, it holds the space of all the members space. For example, if I have defined the structure of employee and declaring the member int, float, the memory that is used by these members, it will take the whole space. But in the union, it will take the space of the largest data member of union. So this is a little bit difference in union and structure, and the method to declare or access a union is same as structure. Here is the syntax of declaring a structure. A union has to define before it can used. Similarly, structure, union, instead of struct, I have written here union and then your union name and then the members that are members of union and then end of this. It's showing the output like this. Program. Here union student. I have declared char name, char subject, float percentage, and the variable of union is record. I am using str copy. In the record dot name, Raju will be copy. In the record dot subject, math will be copy. I am using the string function over there. And record dot percentage, I have written 86.50. So for printing, it will print record dot name, record dot subject and record dot percentage. Difference between structure and union. In the structure, in the union, all the members can be declared like structure. But the memory occupied structure variable is the sum of sizes of all the members. But in union, the memory occupied by union is equal to the space held by the largest data member of a union. As I said before, in the structure, all the members are accessed at any point of time. But in the union, only one of the union member can be accessed at one time. Application of structures are structure used to changing the size, to receiving the key from, formatting of a floppy, and there is a difference between structures versus union. Structure occupies higher memory space, union occupies lower memory space. We can access all the members of a structure at any time, but in union we can access only one member of a union at one time. Here I'll show you the example of structure to declare how to declare a structure, and it's showing the example of union, how to declare a union. In this above declaration, it will occupy the memory of, for example, int occupy 2 bytes, char name will occupy 6 bytes, and the double average will occupy 8 bytes. So it will occupy totally 8 plus 6 plus 2, that is 16 bytes memory. But in the union, here it will occupy the largest memory data member. For example, here average is the largest data member which will occupy the maximum storage. So it will occupy the storage of 8 bytes. This is the main difference between structures and unions. Thank you.